Hey everyone, my name's Emma. I've been working as a pizza delivery girl for 6 months now. At work, me and my fellows often share funny cases and chat about unusual customers with each other. For example, some man orders pizza in secret from his wife who's losing weight. Some people just bet who can eat more pieces of the most spicy pizza. A lot of stuff did happen there, but what happened to me is nothing compared to other cases. That's all because one day I had to deliver pizza to a maniac. How did it happen? Wasn't I afraid? That's what I'm going to talk about today. Make yourself comfy and watch my story till the end. By the way, do you want even more videos with unusual plot twists and life stories? Then visit our channel. You'll definitely laugh, cry, and be shocked while watching. If you want to keep up with our new content, click on the bell and find out about our updates first. So, it all started with me getting a job in high school. I would say I had to do it. Well, not that I had to. Nobody made me. I just made a deal with my parents. If I want to have fun, go to the sea with my friends, and go shopping, then I have to earn money myself. At first, I thought it was unfair. They are my parents and should provide for me. But then I looked at my friends and realized that they all also earned some money in their free time. Some of them did babysitting at their neighbors. Some catered at their family cafes in the evenings. My family didn't have a cafe, and our neighbors' children had grown up a long time ago. I had to try to find something else. And if you think it's easy for an inexperienced 15-year-old schoolgirl to find a job, then you are mistaken. They didn't hire me at a fast food restaurant because I was still a minor and couldn't be responsible for my actions. What if I broke something in the kitchen? Luckily, I had a bike, and it helped me get a job at a delivery service. The working conditions were more suitable for me because I could work when I had free time. I didn't know the town and its tangled streets well enough, so at first it was quite difficult for me. I could easily get lost or go to a wrong area. I was slow at delivering pizza, so customers received it cold and tasteless. The managers were unhappy with this. Angry customers called us, complained about me, and wanted their money back. The manager gave me a week to get better. Otherwise, I'd be fired. I somehow managed to deal with this situation with my dad's help, so to say. I called him before each order, but the bosses wouldn't like me. They reminded me of every disappointed customer. They threatened if I was late, they would take the cost of the pizza from my salary. However, I was happy with the job. I had funny colleagues who often told me cool stories while waiting for the orders to be prepared. For example, one guy who worked in a pizzeria the most recalled a strange situation. One day, he arrived to a customer who was detained by the police right in front of him. The customer had been wanted for a long time and gave himself away by ordering a pizza. Another girl said that she delivered a pizza to a guy who had to sit in the garage for a day because his girlfriend's husband had suddenly returned from a business trip. My colleague almost had to crawl on the grass to deliver food to him and remain undetected. I listened to these stories and was even a little jealous. I only came across boring clients. They were adult single men, young girls, teenagers, families. But one day, I received an interesting order. I had to go to a place which every resident in our small town tried to keep away from. The point is that a maniac lived there. Both the adults and children knew about it, so they tried to stay away from not only his house, but also from the street on which he lived. A couple of years ago, two families moved out of the houses nearby. They were afraid to let their children go for a walk in the yard. Since then, the street with abandoned houses and dark windows began to look even more sinister. You may wonder, why did everyone decide a maniac lived in the house? Because they often heard terrifying screams from its windows. But there were no requests for help. This is how people scream when they're tortured. Of course, the police interrogated the owner of this terrible house many times. But due to the lack of any evidence against him, it was impossible to issue a search warrant and enter his private property. There were many rumors about how the maniac looked. Someone said he didn't have one eye and limped on his left leg. Some people claimed he was handsome, and his appearance helped him to seduce his victims and lure them into his insidious paws. About the victims, no one ever saw them. neither how they got inside the house nor how the maniac got rid of their bodies. In addition, the police never received any reports of the missing people. If you believe the rumors, this is because the maniac chose lonely people as victims. It was much easier as no one would look for them. In general, people talked a lot. They were afraid of the maniac, gossiped about him, went to the police with requests to solve the problem. But because there was no corpus delicti and real victims, they didn't pay any attention. When the delivery operator realized where I would go to, she immediately informed her superiors and thought our boss would allow us to cancel the order. After all, it was pretty cruel to send someone straight to a maniac. But our boss turned out to be a skeptic. He thought the stories about a local maniac only scared children so that they didn't walk alone at night. There was no reasoning with him. Of course, this order broke China among my colleagues. We were waiting for further info about who would deliver 3 boxes of pizza to a creepy house. I was the unlucky one. As the operator explained, the boss himself called my name and said if I rejected the order, I would be fired. It seemed not so bad to refuse, but at that very moment, I did need money because I was planning a vacation with my friends, so I agreed. I didn't tell my father where I would go because I was afraid he would simply not allow me to, and then I would be fired. I wrote to my friends about everything and warned them that if I didn't get in touch with them within 2 hours, they should call my parents and the police. Was I scared? Yes. I didn't know what was waiting for me in that sinister house. The order wasn't paid in advance, which meant I had to take money from the owner. Am I really going to see him in person? I was thinking at that moment. I convinced myself the maniac chose only lonely people as victims, but I had family, friends, and at work everyone knew where I went. If I disappeared, everyone would know where to look for me. From the outside, the house looked really dreadful. Surrounded by a high but already old fence, it looked more like a witch's den rather than an ordinary person's house. There were no screams. I went in. The gate was open, and I was surprised because the place was lovable. There were no thickets and rattlesnakes, neat lawns, paths, an alpine slide. I thought the person who previously described this place had a rich imagination. The house itself was gray and cracked in places. The door, on the contrary, was new and bright. I didn't know what to expect. Having encouraged myself, I pressed on the bell and immediately heard footsteps behind the door. I was waiting for anything, but not for a nice woman in her 50s, in a funny apron with rabbits, to open the door for me. When she saw the pizza, she was very happy, took the boxes from me, and asked me to wait because she'd left her wallet inside. I was shocked, but I could still come to my senses and inspect the house. It definitely didn't look like a maniac's. Paintings on the wall, knitted napkins on the table, cute pillows on the sofa. If this was a method to fool me before the abduction, then it worked perfectly. I continued inspecting, but then a man in a white coat who was the same age as the woman and another man in old, torn, dirty clothes with greasy hair came down from the 2nd floor. Seeing me, both men froze. But after that, the one in the white coat escorted the second one to somewhere in the depths of the house and came back to me. I was ready to be grabbed and tied up right away, but the man just sighed and asked me not to tell anyone about what I'd seen. It turned out that the owner of this house was a doctor who treated homeless and poor people for free. A few years ago, because of a mistake, he was deprived of his medical license. He could no longer treat people officially, but he equipped an office in his house, and since then had been helping those who couldn't afford ordinary treatment. He didn't have enough money for anesthesia. Sometimes it wasn't required. That's why his patients often screamed. This was exactly what passersby heard. The man knew about the rumors about his house, but he supported them because it helped him to continue his work in private. After all, if the police found out about the medical office, they would immediately shut it down. And so everyone passed by it. Usually his wife came out to meet people, but she was a little sick, so they decided to order pizza. And they didn't think the delivery girl would see too much. I was very surprised, but I promised Mr. Dawson, as he introduced himself, to remain silent. After all, he was doing a good thing, and it would be bad of me to set him up. I took the money, wished the Dawson couple good luck, and drove back to the pizzeria. I told my colleagues that I'd left an order at the fence. Money had been waiting for me there. I described the house as a creepy place and advised everyone to stay away from it. And the more I think about it, the more I doubt myself. The Dawsons were such good people. They helped the poor, and everyone around them thought a maniac lived in the house. But if I tell the truth, I'll frame the doctor. Or maybe he lied to me and was actually experimenting on his patients? I need your advice. What would you do if you were me? Would you tell everyone about the strange house, or would you remain silent like me? Write your answers in the comments section. I hope you enjoyed my story. Be sure to like the video and subscribe. See ya!